It is Tuesday, July the 16th. There are 111 days until the last polls close on the presidential election day, and 34 until the opening gavel of the Democratic National Convention. And this is the warning. Yesterday was a historic day in the United States. Donald Trump has done something that only two other Americans have ever done. Their names were Henry Clay and William Jennings Bryan. Both of those men were the nominees of their parties 3 times. Now Trump is back, fresh off surviving an assassination attempt. And he walked out during prime time into the Republican National Convention, and he took his seat next to his running mate, 39-year-old Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, a protege of Silicon Valley weirdo Peter Thiel. There they sat, Tucker Carlson, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, a religious extremist by every conceivable definition of the word. Now, this is a man who believes that people and dinosaurs were walking around together 5,000 years ago. He explicitly has said he doesn't believe in the separation of church and state. My favorite moment of the entire day, and there were many, was watching Mike Johnson nod his head up and down like a bobblehead as Amber, the tattooed stripper, tattoo on her forehead, of course, talked to the country during that vital primetime hour about the fact that Donald Trump was a racist. Now, scores of millions of Americans wondered, why is this happening? What am I watching? Can you imagine if Eisenhower and Reagan and Nixon were all sitting around up there beyond the pearly gates looking down? So there she is, Kanye West's former girlfriend, giving character testimony about Donald Trump on the basis of her research. The OnlyFans model, the innovator and host of the Slut Walk, captivated Mike Johnson. How can it be that on CNN, I am watching pundits and anchors and others talk about Donald Trump, a man found liable of rape, and then defaming the woman in the aftermath, raping her and psychologically torturing her? How can it be that this man is spoken about suddenly in the aftermath of surviving an assassination attempt like he is a reborn apostle of peace? What conceivable ludicrousness could so infect anybody's brain that such astonishing, utter nonsensical words could parse their lips? It's a question for the ages, but also an urgent one, because much of the media has decided that there's a new chapter in our evolving and unfolding national reality show. The man of violence, the man who raped a woman, is suddenly redeemed because he was victimized by the types of acts that he has propelled, that he has stoked, that he has celebrated. This is a man who in the Oval Office pondered about shooting peacefully protesting Black people, our fellow citizens. This is a man who celebrated Paul Pelosi's violent attack. Donald Trump has courted violence. He's used violence. Now, Donald Trump has a long and sordid history of racial animus. He has a long history of stoking violence. But let's get back specifically to violence against women, because there is an issue that most normal people could find consensus on. Now, if you were a child watching your mother being beat, if you were a brother who knew his sister was being beat, a father who knew his daughter was being beat, a friend who knew the person you loved was being beaten and abused, tortured, what type of sick soul would say that that beaten woman should stay in the marriage, that they should take the beating for the good of the kids? You know who? J.D. Vance is who? J.D. Vance said the beaten woman should stay married, stay with the abuser. J.D. Vance has said other things. Now, this California Yale Billy, who pretends he's part of the working class, is in fact a Yale-educated venture capitalist who said he was uncomfortable in the state of Ohio, where many people have suffered and died from opioid addiction. J.D. Vance was involved in a fraudulent opioid charity. And now J.D. Vance has been picked as the Trumpian Dauphin, the MAGA successor at 39 in Donald Trump's twisted vision, no doubt, president by 43 and a retired kingpin by 51. Certainly that's how Elon Musk sees it. He's donating $45 million a month to the cause of American fascism, to the cause of Donald Trump, to the cause of political violence. There has been no person in 50 years that has talked more directly, more openly, and had a greater impact restoring a culture of violence and menace and threat to our politics than Donald Trump. His record is clear. His menace is clear. His extremism is clear. Donald Trump is the leading cause of incivility in the United States. He is the leading cause of racial antagonism in the United States. He is the leading cause of the cancer in our society. He leads an autocratic movement that threatens American democracy because it does not believe in the cornerstone principles of the country. The truth of the matter is, Donald Trump is ahead in the campaign, and he has picked to be his vice president a 39-year-old fraud of titanic dimensions. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are the most extreme political ticket in American history, bar none. J.D. Vance is a fascist who fetishizes Viktor Orban, who has celebrated the Russian invasion of Ukraine. He is un-American because he has made clear that he does not believe in democracy. J.D. Vance has talked about the necessity of an American Caesar to set things right. We don't need a Caesar in America. We need a president, vigorous and able to respond to this manifest threat to America's civilization and defeat it with a message of goodness against this sinister, vile, malignant, violent cause. Fascism is a philosophy of violence, and MAGA and fascism are the same thing. And that's been clear for a long time. But too many in the media are uncomfortable with using the word fascist because they believe it implies a judgment as opposed to a precise description. And the thing is, when you abandon precision, when you make words meaningless, when you obliterate the ability to put meaning into a sentence or a paragraph, what happens is reality becomes blurred, and it becomes impossible for people to tell the difference between up and down, right and left, red and blue, and a fascist and someone who's an American patriot. Now, fascists have gathered before. They gathered in Madison Square Garden. They even hung swastika emblazoned George Washington banners next to the stage, and they called it a patriotic event. It wasn't. We have reached a moment of absurdity, a dangerous moment of absurdity. No Scott Jennings of CNN. Miss Amber doesn't have a future in American politics. What she is part of the Carnival Act, a bearded lady, part of the freak show that you have abetted as a mouthpiece in a suit and tie on CNN, excusing the inexcusable. But at any rate, it's more than about one CNN commentator. It's about the thousands of cynics and the opportunists. The thing about an authoritarian is they never act alone. They sit atop an ecosystem. And there are always the financiers. And Trump and his fascist cause have his financiers, the Winklevosses, Elon Musk, Bill Ackman, Schwartzman, principal funders, or some of them, of American fascism in 2024. He has his propagandists, Tucker Carlson, a disgraced Fox News personality, a Russian useful idiot, sitting there in the front row with the disgraced former president, the rapist, and the extremist speaker, a man who's been celebrated on Russian TV, a man who assails our allies and celebrates our enemies. There was Tucker Carlson sitting in the front row. The days ahead will reveal the MAGA movement. The most important thing to understand about this election is whomever it is about loses. And Donald Trump has made the election about Joe Biden, and he's done it successfully for a long time because he has the financiers and he has the propagandists. He has the think tankers. He has the fanaticism of a cult of personality. And that cult of personality has a charismatic leader. And thus, we have a real-life authoritarian movement. And it will bear its fangs this week while declaring the necessity for unity. It will preach menace, but also peace. And the American people, in the end, have to sit in judgment of this cause, have to evaluate what's at stake, and have to look deeply at the threats being made against them. By who? By Trump. Because what he has said cannot be washed away with a bandage on his ear. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.